Hi there, everyone. For those of us that haven't connected, my name's Claire and I'm part of the Cornerstone team. I am currently, it's my privilege to be the family finding coordinator, which means that I've had contact with some of you, but I haven't managed to meet all of you. First of all, forgive me for not being able to be with you in person when you most recently met. I'm a foster carer and an adoptive parent alongside being a birth parent, and I'm sure that you will understand that circumstances transpired and happened all at the same time, which meant that I needed to be elsewhere. But apologies that I wasn't able to be there in person with you, and that therefore you are catching up with this online. I'm going to be sharing my screen in a minute, and I will probably say something like, "Can you all see it?" And I'm really aware that you won't be able to respond to me. But I'm hoping that this brief video will be helpful to you to have a little bit of a understanding of some of the things that I've been helping to be working on for Cornerstone and for Foundations Matters as well. For those of you who I've not met, who perhaps haven't heard sort of where I've come from previously in my work life, I have been connected to all things marketing and content creation and delivery, and speaking in churches and all of that kind of thing in a previous role. And so while there haven't been lots of placements that have been needed to be found and moving around just temporarily, I've been able to use some of the time that I have in order to behind the scenes do a bit of stuff which I hope is going to be helpful as people share more frequently and in more places about Cornerstone and Foundations Matters. So that's why I'm here with you this evening, today, this morning. It was this evening when you met, but you might be watching this at any time of day. The reason that I am here is to share with you a little bit about what I have been doing, particularly as it relates to where it might be, I hope, useful for you. I've been bringing together something called the messaging guide, which I've called the messaging guide, which brings together kind of thoughts around what we share and how we share when we speak as Cornerstone. And I guess right from the off, I want to be upfront and say it isn't designed to be restrictive. It's not designed to tell you this is a script that you must follow or you will be in big trouble. No, it's meant actually to be the opposite. It's meant to be releasing. But what we want to do is equip all of those connected with Cornerstone and Foundations Matter as well as we can, so that anyone anywhere who hears about Cornerstone it will feel to them like we're all singing from the same hymn sheet. So we've created, it's not just me, this framework to help so that anyone and everyone speaking about or on behalf of Cornerstone or Foundations Matters feels really confident. The other thing I would just say is that marketing's a funny word and it can have a funny impact on people. And even though I've been connected to it in much of my working life, it's a word that I don't always love very much because of the connotations of it. What I'm talking about is how can we help more people who are considering fostering and adoption to be able to do that alongside Christians as they journey and consider? How can we help more people to know that fostering and adoption could be a part of their story? How can we help more people to know in that about the work that Cornerstone and Foundations Matters do in order that they are better equipped to consider the part that they could play? That's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about marketing. And so it's from that point of view, really, that I want to share a couple of things that I've been working on. Three things that I've been working on, and hone in on one in particular that I hope is going to be helpful for you. The first is something primarily for staff members who are going to be potentially writing about or communicating about Cornerstone more frequently or in a different sort of way, and that's the messaging guide, and that sort of talks about who we are and what we say and how we're going to say it. And although I'm not going to share the whole thing with you because I want to be really honouring of your time, I just wanted to share a little bit with you which relates to all of us, however we're connected to Cornerstone or Foundations Matters, because everything that we share, everything that we say, everything that we communicate in a formal or informal capacity, written or spoken, in conversation on big stages or in coffee shops, and everything in between, should be, we hope, rooted in our values. And I want to just return to those values. You will know those much better than I do. You've been around and have been part of this of Cornerstone for longer than I have, but we've just done a little bit of rewording. The heart remains the same, but I want to remind us all, as we start singing from this same hymn sheet, the values that underpin everything that I'm going to share from, and you can see those on your screen. The first is that of unity, one body, one purpose, that we're Christians working together in love. We serve in unity and we value every voice as part of God's family. And what that looks like in practice is that we as a team, we're one team, and we share stories, we use consistent language, and we celebrate collaboration across the Cornerstone community. And there will be ways that you already know that that is happening and that you can see we're doing well, and there will be ways that we know together that we need to grow in. But this is a really important value to us. Secondly, children are absolutely at the heart of everything that we do. Every child, we believe, is created in God's image, holds immeasurable worth. We place children and young people with care experience right at the heart, the centre of everything we do, walking with families who are shaping, or helping to shape new parts of stories with love and stability and belonging. In practice, what that looks like is that we're going to choose words whenever we speak about fostering, adoption, the work of Cornerstone or Foundations Matters. We're going to choose words that affirm the children's strength, hope and individuality. We're always going to tell their stories with dignity and in a way that protects them. Next, one of our values is development, that we want to continue to grow together in hope. We're committed to nurturing growth for the children, for the young people, for staff, for carers, for trustees, for all those that are connected to us, because we recognise that none of us are a finished product. We want to commit to growing and learning and developing together, and for that to be a value that we work towards. Stewardship, we want to care wisely for God's gifts, stewarding every opportunity, relationship and resource with care and gratitude. We want to use the gifts that God's given us wisely in order to care for his creation. And the way that we're going to do that in practice is communicating with humility, with accountability, showing transparency and stewarding the physical resources and with awareness of the impact on people and the planet. Next value is our value of honour, that we listen and speak with care. We listen deeply, we communicate respectfully and act with compassion. We want to ensure that every message honours the dignity of others. In practice, we're going to pause before we respond so that we don't react. We want to use inclusive language. We want to speak in ways that build trust and respect and build and reflect God's love for each person. Finally, final value on which all of this is built is integrity. We want to be those who live our faith authentically. We want to act with honesty and diligence. We want to reflect Christ in all of our communications, in all of our actions. Some of this is so obvious, right? But so often I find that the things that are obvious, the things that I feel like I know the most, are some of the things that I need to return to most often and most frequently, because it's easy to forget to remember. In practice, what does integrity look like? We want to make sure that our words match our actions, that we speak truthfully, that we keep promises, that we maintain consistency across every platform and relationship. And when I'm talking about platforms, yes, I'm talking about social media platforms and the ways that we can do that, but I'm also talking about the platforms that we may find ourselves in churches or at festivals or at events, the platforms that we may find ourselves as we're getting to share in coffee shops with individuals or in the notices at church or having a picnic with another family who want to know more. There's all kinds of different platforms that we're a part of, and we want to make sure that we're consistent across each and every one. The messaging guide sort of details what our voice sounds like, and goes on to build from that point. From there, and this may be something that some of you will also get to the use of, because it's going to be relevant to you. We've also created something that we're calling the church visit pack. So we've created a pack which helps us think about why do we do church visits? What's the best way to do that? So for those people on our staff team, amongst you, ambassadors and others who are connected to us, who are going to be speaking on our behalf at churches, we wanted to give them great resources to take with them. So within that, we've got resources to be able, if you're given 3 minutes in a notice slot, this is what you could say, and here's some great visuals that would go alongside that. For those that might be given a 10-minute talk slot, here is an idea of a framework for a talk, again with some great visuals rooted in how we speak about the Bible, how we speak about fostering and adoption in relation to the Word of God. And it's got a longer talk framework that that we're asking people to think about using as they speak, including opportunities for foster carers or adoptive parents to share as part of that. Also in that pack, there's all kinds of different prayers that can be used corporately, written prayers in case you're asked to share in something, all age prayers, all kinds of different things. We wanted to make a really good start at equipping people that are going to go and speak on our behalf to do that really well. So that may apply to some of you, and for those of you that does apply to, please do reach out. So that we can make sure that is something that gets put in your hands. But the primary thing that I wanted to share with you about tonight is what I've called the community sharing toolkit, which sounds quite grand, really. It's a couple of pages, in all honesty, which will in time look a bit prettier than it does right now, but we wanted to make sure the content was in your hands. And it's a toolkit which is designed to support people within Cornerstone and Foundations Matters, carers, adoptive parents, staff, trustees and supporters to be able to share about fostering and adoption and the world of Cornerstone and Foundations Matters in a way that feels natural and thoughtful and true to those values that we remembered together earlier on. In the same way that the church resources that I spoke about are designed to create a kind of space for gentle exploration rather than pressure, this toolkit is here to help that message be shared consistently and clearly without trying to turn people into official spokespeople. We recognise that each and every one of you, particularly in this forum, will have a unique, extraordinary story of how fostering and adoption has woven its way into the story that God has written for your life. And we don't want to take away from that uniqueness. What we want to be able to do is to give you a framework and to ask that when you are sharing about Cornerstone, that you share within this broad framework so that we're all singing from the same hymn sheet. But the other thing to say is that sharing is always optional. So there are things that I would love to encourage you to think about doing, which would really help us. Things on social media like liking posts, commenting on them, sharing on posts. It increases the reach and the connections that those posts makes exponentially. And I won't bore you all with the figures, but it really can make a huge difference. But I don't say this to put any pressure on you, but simply to say that as those who are doing it, you are amongst the most powerful spokespeople, the most powerful voices that we have for fostering adoption and for Cornerstone and Foundations Matters. But sharing is always optional. How and when and whether you do so is entirely your choice. And the reason that we share is that most people consider and fostering and adoption initially, certainly quietly. Many of the inquiries that result in children finding a home with new foster carers and adopters come from connections to existing adopters or carers. It happens because of a conversation that they may have had with somebody that they trust, or something that they see shared on social media that reminds them of that thing that they've always wondered about. It's something which is a story perhaps which makes them feel less alone in their wanderings, or an event that they heard something shared publicly that had always been something they'd wondered about privately. And small and thoughtful acts of sharing can actually create space for some of these early questions to surface. And that's why we really value you and the impact that you can have. And so the toolkit that I'm going to share with you, that I'm working through now with you, is to encourage you in what you say and how and to whom, because it matters and it could make a difference. And we want to help and resource you as best we can to make sure that these ways that these happen are honouring and safe and faithful to who we are as sharing. So first of all, what do I mean when I say sharing? When I say sharing, I'm not talking about persuading or convincing somebody, oversharing information or sharing sensitive information. I'm not talking about speaking on behalf of children or birth families or of other people's experience. I'm not talking about applying pressure or setting expectations. I know that that would not be any of your hearts as well, even though I've not met all of you. When I talk about sharing, when we talk about sharing, what we're talking about is passing on something that resonates with you, naming something about this work that matters to you because it matters to you personally, helping others to know where support and information can be found, and creating and curating those spaces for curiosity and conversation. Now, sharing might mean getting on a platform or a stage, or sharing in a church or at an event of some sort, but it doesn't have to be frequent or public to be meaningful. Small, thoughtful steps, having a coffee with somebody, following the lead of a conversation, asking a thought-provoking question can be really effective as well. You might choose to share an occasional post that you see on social media for Cornerstone and Foundations Matters. Each time you click like or love or comment or share, it increases exponentially almost the number of people that post can reach, and also will connect with people who you are connected with, and therefore will connect with more like-minded people as well. If you add a short personal kind of message or line when sharing, like, this matters to us, so please take a look, all the better, because it becomes something that's not just abstract and an organisation over here, but my friend says this matters to them, so I'm going to connect with this. Perhaps a way of sharing might be mentioning Cornerstone if fostering or adoption comes up naturally. Many of you, all of you, will be doing this already. But again, I just want to get us singing from the same hymn sheet to start with. You might want to pass on information about the next information evening that's coming up, or event that's coming up, to somebody who's already curious. You might want to suggest to a church leader that somebody from Cornerstone could come in and share about the work that we do. And when we share, some of the things that we want to encourage and ask of you is that language that you share with reflects the same approach that we would use in church settings, that being faith rooted, honest, not making us foster carers, adoptive parents, Cornerstone, Foundations Matters, not making any of those the hero. We want to be respectful of the complexity that comes with that. We want to be hope-filled without being simplistic. It is possible to share the challenge and the complexity and the heartache that very often comes with this, alongside the hopefulness and the joy that also comes. So some of the ways that you might think about wanting to phrase them are: this is something that we've been grateful. This is something we've been supported with, or we've been grateful not to walk this journey alone. You might want to say there's no pressure if you come to one of these information events. There's just some space to explore. What we're asking people to avoid is rescue language. So this child was helpless and hopeless, and then I stepped in, or we stepped in, and we rescued them from a life of brokenness. We want to avoid unhelpful, dramatic before and after narratives, recognising that as foster carers and adoptive parents, we are part of the story, a significant, important part, but just a part of it. We ask people to avoid sharing information about children or families. We ask them to avoid presenting fostering or adoption as a solution to everything. It's a significant, important part. It's an extraordinary privilege and call, but it can't be and isn't the be all and end all to everything. Now, if you're sharing in church or community context, sharing might look like mentioning Cornerstone to a church leader or a small group leader. It might be sharing a post or resource in a church WhatsApp group. It might be suggesting Cornerstone as a guest for a notice slot or a talk. It might be encouraging prayer for children and families within the context of your church. I just want to free us all up from feeling like we might have to have the answer to everything and be able to explain everything. Actually, a simple introduction may just be enough. And the thing that's very important for us to share is that your well-being and the well-being and privacy of the children always comes first. Please only share what feels comfortable and appropriate. Feel free to redirect people to Cornerstone. Feel free to redirect them to to redirect them to us in that instance, so that it's not your weight that you feel that you need to carry. And we can answer any questions that you don't feel able or want to be able to answer. And finally, in this document, you will find places that we would encourage you to send people to. So if somebody wants to know more about Cornerstone or Foundations Matters, what do you do? Where do you send them? What should you pass them on to? In this document, there's information about the website, which I'm sure you know. You can encourage them to email info at either Cornerstone or Foundations Matters. There's a QR code which will appear again that will take you and link you to the inquiry page on our website, should that be a context where this is important. It's probably the least likely of all of them. And you can always check and find out when the next online information event is and invite them to come along to that. And you can connect us by email in that way. We want to make it as easy as possible for you to be able to connect people to us as and when and if that becomes helpful. I hope that this has been a helpful 20 minutes of just outlining some of what's been going on, some of the ways that you're sharing, your involvement can make a real significant difference. Where there are questions that have been raised as a result of what I've shared, please do get in touch with your main point of connection through Cornerstone. Please do come and ask me questions where I can helpfully find out the answers for you. But thank you for your time. Apologies again that I wasn't able to be with you, and thank you for being willing to be part of this community and being willing to share part of your story as it may and does and will impact others as they consider what part fostering and adoption may be in their story.